This is Wednesday, July 26th. There are 356 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2018. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE go.
Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current mood is hyperactive, current music, Refuse 73. I love the color scheme, it's pink and purple.
Good evening. I am your host, James Riley. Joining me on the podcast tonight, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey guys, last podcast of the season. Woo!
Woo! And also outside Comic-Con herself, Kim Twombly.
Hi, everyone. Or is it the first podcast of next season?
No, it is the end.
Wrong.
This is break time.
Yeah.
Break time.
Yes. And for the record, we will have a couple of wrap-up things, including this very podcast. But after that, we go dark, as always, for a little while. So
We sleep the Odin sleep.
that's right. That's right.
Okay, so we promised demerits and kudos and awards, and like Meatloaf says, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. We might not do the awards.
That's okay.
We might save that for a post or something like that. So we'll see. Depends on how many opinions we get. We're forcing out for the next 4 hours because we have a lot of opinions. It won't be 4 hours. Trust me.
Don't we always have a lot of opinions?
Okay, so we're going to be
Go
taking comments throughout the show and questions. You can tweet us at SD_comic_con. Use the hashtag SDConCast, or use the YouTube live chat, which we'll be keeping an eye on there and answering and commenting as we go. So let's get started. First thing, news. What is the news that we have for this year or for this podcast?
I mean, Comic-Con's over. So the
Lives again.
The only actual news is Comic-Con 2018 is confirmed to be July 18th for preview night through July 22nd. So mark your days off now. Start calling the hotels to see if they'll let you book.
Don't bother checking the hotels because I already checked all their websites.
Wow, there you go. Kim's done the legwork for you.
Do that for you.
Sad. Very, very sad. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for news, right?
Pretty much.
All right, moving on.
Any offsites that we need to talk about? No. Coming up. There are no offsites coming up. Any exclusives we need to talk about? Yes. And that is Patrick Balstro's, his thank you art.
Yeah, so he did this really cool thing. It actually goes up tomorrow, which if you're watching live is Thursday. If you're listening tomorrow, it's probably today. And basically for 24 hours, he is going to have a piece of exclusive artwork available. And it's kind of like a combination of 2 of his really popular prints that I believe sold out. It's got Moana and Lilo and Stitch on it. It's really cute. And the proceeds actually benefit charity. He's going to have options ranging from $5 to $50, not including shipping though. But if you missed out on his prints or you just want to add another one, it's a great option. And as I think we all know, I adore his stuff, and I'm super excited that he's doing that. So Thursday only, go to his website, buy the print. It looks really cool. You can see it on our site. And hello.
Okay, that's it. Podcast is over. Let's go.
Woo! No.
I actually do have an offsite. The Symphony is having, one of the things we kind of missed out on were the use of the Embarcadero stage back there. And they are doing Harry Potter this weekend.
Which is super cool. And I finally got to go to the Symphony.
Oh, yeah.
This year for the John Williams concert. That was so much fun. So, highly recommend.
Yes. I did not get to go to the John Williams concert, but I still highly recommend the Symphony.
Yes. Yes.
I went to the last John Williams when they did about 2 years ago, year and a half, something like that. I don't know. It was a while ago.
That's
it was
cool.
Awesome. It wasn't quite themed, quite so Comic-Con-y as the one this last weekend. I think we got mostly, I can't remember the name of the movie now. Anyway, moving on. Not important. Okay, so did we want to just kind of go over just starting from the beginning of the show and go from there, or did we want to hit some of the high points or low points? Let's just hit the low points. Okay, folks.
Yeah,
line management.
Do it.
Line management sucked.
Oh my god, it was the worst it's ever been. It was like
and we're
the worst it's ever been, and it's bad normally.
Yes, it's normally bad. And one thing that was at worse than usual, but consistently bad, was at the back of the convention center, where once the everything else line is in, they take the autograph and exclusives lines and take them back outside to the mezzanine, and then back down the stairs out back, and then back up the stairs in their individual lines for where it's just explaining it just took me like 30 seconds and trying to explain it quickly.
Yes, I know. So it's confusing in and of itself. And I mean, like, it's partly security's fault, it's partly not, but every single year, every single day, what winds up happening is some people know, some people don't, but they'll go just around the back of the convention center and they'll see these lines and they'll just pop into them. Some of that, like I said, is people being shady. Some of it is people just being like literally not knowing and thinking that's where the line is. And security like does a terrible job of policing it. They do a terrible job of understanding what the policy is. Like it truly makes no sense. And it's funny to me. I'm actually going to talk about this. So like Tuesday night, I think, before Comic-Con, Tuesday night before Comic-Con. So Sean wanders over behind the convention center and sees, and they've got all of the lines like marked on the ground, like Lego, and it's like one color, Funko, and it's one color, DC, and it's one color, and we're all like, oh my god, they're like actually going to have people just start
stamps and arrows on the ground.
Yeah.
It's like what? It's actually organized and separated, and everyone can line up for the thing they want, and everyone's glory, hallelujah.
Instead of having to go through the everything else line and then upstairs and then downstairs and then back upstairs. And so Sean's like freaking out, you're freaking out, and I show up and I'm like, there's no possible way that's what Comic-Con International is doing, because they've been saying all year, like, well, for years, you can't line up at the back of the convention center. And sure enough, I wound up being right, but I didn't want to be right, because that makes so much more sense. Like, truly, if you have like people camping out for 12, 20, however many hours to try to get a signing, and literally they can't because people are going up the back of the stairs and not following the rules and getting there first, like that is a huge problem.
Yes, you need to treat those people who waited in line. That is the currency they're paying, and you need to value that currency. You need to value the time they spend and get them into line in the order they lined up.
Yes. Yes. And I don't, again, like, it's not completely security's fault, because like you can only do as good of a job as you were trained to do, and like it's really hard to manage those crowds, but like that is why Comic-Con International needs to do a better job of managing their own lines. You cannot just blame the security, okay? And like I'm like really angry about this, but you cannot just blame the security, you cannot just blame the attendees. Like, you need to think about like, how is the flow of this line going to work? Like, we have the same problems every single year. It's not like this is a brand new thing. Just makes me angry. So someone else talk.
Okay. So I don't think we really are going to have any solutions for them, except for out the back. If they're going to use the back, line people up in the back.
And I don't even understand like why they won't do that. Like, if back in the day, I mean, like, you used to supposedly have like people sneaking in because they didn't have badges, but now they have RFID on the stairs, and apparently they had it last year too. So like, what does it even matter? Like, just have them line up at the bottom of the stairs. Just make it like another entrance, but solely for sales. Like, each person can get into the individual line that they want. Like, you don't have this whole big massive thing, like,
because it's partly the confusion that's taking up the time of like people like, where do I go?
Right.
They can't find the line they want to get into. And
they need to, I mean, I don't know how they're going to manage it, because the marina is kind of like an open area that they can't really, I don't think they can do anything with. I think since that's public property, even though they take up the the lawn, that's not a walkway, so they can take up the lawn with the line. I don't know if they can secure and cut off the marina because that's where its public needs to walk. So the best option would be to set lines and gates and everything along the marina, just like they have people line up, because you're going to have too many people to fill those stairs. There's just going to be too many people.
Yes.
So you need to have a way to have, what do they have down there? 6 different lines for exclusives and such.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have 6 different lines somehow managed going in 2 directions on the marina.
So it's almost like use where Adult Swim is. Use that area.
Right. I mean, that's an option is, you know what? Sorry, Adult Swim and FX, but we need that lawn to manage our lines better and kick them out.
Places for them. They can find their places, but that would make sense.
But I mean, they need something to control those lines better and to get it off of that long line that goes a mile all the way to the Hyatt and wraps 15 different ways. And the Hall H line kind of merges with the everything else line at some point, merges with the people coming down out the back for the exclusives line, and you have 14 different things going on at once in one area, and people are going to get confused.
Yes.
And you need to get rid of that. You need to segregate the lines, mark them clearly as far as you can. I mean,
yes.
The Embarcadero was not used this year. You know what? Move everyone out there and have them line up in the Embarcadero in just rows like you have for Hall H tents. Set up another tents out there.
And do it quite frankly like Disney does. And like have someone at the front of the line who like calmly like walks you forward like to the stairs, you know? Like it's not rocket science. You're dealing with masses of people. You deal with the same masses of people every single year. Like, how are you not better at this?
And so just to get rid of the options that people are suggesting, Hall H moving to Petco, not going to happen.
No.
They can't monitor who's seeing the footage. You can't really watch the footage really well because it's outdoors. And so they wouldn't ever be showing you things in those panels. And people would be too far away. They wouldn't be able to have people close enough for those people who want to be close to see the stage. And so plus from what I understand at the talkback, John Rogers said it was obscenely expensive to book Petco.
I believe it. I absolutely believe it.
So there's that. But the Embarcadero was not used, either the north or the south. The Symphony Stage stayed empty. They had that area they could have used.
The only thing in the Embarcadero all week was Vikings, and that was for like an hour.
Yeah.
Sorry, my poor little pug back here.
I know, poor little pug. So I mean, that's just that portion of the line. That's just line management. Now let's get into the actual lines and the line cutters and how there was, it seems, just such an increase in the amount of people being crappy this year and cutting lines and apparently counterfeiting wristbands and selling them.
Yeah, so let's just talk about Saturday, because that's obviously like the biggest thing. So for the very first time, Saturday Hall H, they've always said that like getting a wristband does not guarantee you get into the room, but really it does, because basically the room holds 6,500. The wristbands are split into 4 groups of, I believe, 1,500. And so that's like 6,000 wristbands for a room that holds 6,500. Like, that's the math says you get in, okay? Even with the studio like holding XYZ amount of seats, you get in. However, this year, they let everybody in, and there was still about 200 to 400 people with wristbands under the tents. So something went disastrously wrong. There's a whole lot of theories about what happened. The prevalent theory is basically that people counterfeited wristbands. And we asked earlier today, like, who heard or saw shady things, that kind of thing. And I feel like we heard a lot of people saying that people counterfeited wristbands, but we didn't hear a whole lot of like actual stories of like, yeah, I saw it. We did hear a couple. One person said that like one person emailed me and said that like there were people with wristbands from previous years or wristbands that like didn't even say Hall H, and they were trying to tell the security guards and the security guards were just like, if they have a wristband, they're getting in. Like apparently they didn't care if it was a 2014 wristband. That's not good. That's not good at all. I heard somebody else say that like somebody's wristband was like off color, so maybe they like made it. Who knows? We heard a lot of stories about people like pocketing wristbands to go do who knows what with, but that shouldn't account for like extra bodies in the room. Like even if you take like a real wristband and you're an idiot and a jerk and you go off and you sell it to somebody, like that doesn't explain how there's still 400 people in the tents afterwards. You know?
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, selling a wristband you get by waiting in line is still someone who waited in line and takes up the same seat you would have.
Yes.
If you know, you slip it off because you put it on and give it to someone else because you don't want to go anymore.
Yes.
That one person is just taking your butt.
I know. And we also heard a lot of stories about like people like kind of hopping into line and trying to blend in like as they were handing out wristbands to make sure that they got one. We heard a lot of those stories, but again, that still doesn't explain how there were 400 or so people at the end. So even though we haven't like officially heard anybody say like, yes, I know someone who like bought a counterfeit wristband, or I know somebody who made one, or I did make one, or anything like that, like I feel like that pretty much has to be the answer.
Right. And then if for those who didn't see the video or who had just heard rumors, yes, those 400 or so people that were left out in the tents during the WB panel, Eddie came out and announced that they were getting 4-day plus preview night passes for next year. So they basically were compensated for losing out for the WB panel because most of them made it into the room in the next hour or so.
Yeah.
So that's basically their compensation, which does not fix the problem, does not fix them missing the panel that probably some of them really wanted to see. And really all it does is just give them something nice for the hassle.
Yes.
That's really what it is. But it doesn't fix the underlying problem at all.
And I do want to talk about the underlying problem. But first, I actually want to talk to you and Kim about this because I feel like we have different opinions on this. So what do we think about their temporary solution? I mean, it's not a solution, but like their compensation of giving people 2018 badges. Like, do you think that was a good idea? Do you think it was a bad idea?
I not exactly knowing what went on, I feel like it's kind of hard to tell. I guess they were able to find out for sure that people that were given wristbands were not able to get into the room. But I feel like it does set a bad precedent because that's like a big thing. It's very nice of them to acknowledge the time that people put in, but I think it's a huge thing to give out. And it's a weird thing too, because it takes away from like the lottery for everyone else, which I know you have different opinion on, but like, I think like just like a bunch of awesome swag from that they might have procured from the studio would have been good. Signed stuff, like that would have been amazing for those people. That would, if I had waited, that would have been okay for me. But you know, they have now tickets for next year, which is really cool too. But I think it's just a bad precedent.
I mean, I agree to an extent. Like, I feel like I do feel like 400 badges
is not a lot.
Yeah, it's such a tiny drop in the bucket. And like even people who are listening now are probably like, 400, that's a lot. When you consider it's like out of 130,000 plus attendees, like 400 is nothing. And I feel like Comic-Con International is like so rare to like step up and own their mistakes and like fix things that I'm really just happy that like they did this time. I'm happy that they acknowledged like something went terribly wrong here. We want to make it right. And they did it like fairly quickly too.
Right.
So that part makes me very happy. I mean, I don't think you're necessarily wrong though. Like if something minor happens now next year, can somebody be like, well, last year something went wrong and you guys gave someone a badge. Where's my badge? So, right. I mean, I think you absolutely have a valid point.
Yeah, and I mean, they can find ways to do it. I mean, they can cut the number of comps they give out to radio stations,
Yeah.
you know, things like that. So they don't necessarily have to take them out of the pool of attendees.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll just let in fewer pros and press. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Okay, but going back to the underlying problem, we didn't go to talk back, but someone sent us a quote earlier that I kind of want to read, and this is from John Rogers, who's the president of Comic Con International, for those who don't know, and he was talking about like using RFID more for various things. So, and I do think that they need to use RFID more. And this all kind of ties back into Hall H because, again, like, they don't necessarily have to even use wristbands. Like, there is a world in which Comic Con International could just, like, walk down rows with, like, people with iPads and, like, scan your badge, and only the ones that they scan get turned green, like, as you walk into Hall H. You know, like, there is a world in which this is possible. But John Rogers said, personally, I'm a gadget guy, and I probably have 10 different schemes for what to do about that involve 12 different technologies. We've been fortunate that before this year, I don't think there were any additional wristbands that were in existence. It seems to me that it's quite possible there were some number of counterfeit wristbands somebody produced, and we're going to have to look into the security of the wristbands and how we tie that into people going forward. As much as I love technology and doing that stuff with the RFID cards, I almost get persuaded by a lot of our staff that every little piece of technology we add, every piece of complication is another thing that can go wrong. So we do, to some degree, take the approach. We've never had a duplicated wristband. Let's not make this more complicated when we're having enough difficulty getting people to tap in and out to make that universally work. And it's okay, I guess I don't get to have my whiz-bang tools. So, and again, it's I don't want to rag too much on CCI because they do amazing work. They do a lot of amazing things. The programming this year was off the hook.
It's a ton of logistics.
It's a ton of logistics, but at the same time, like, you kind of have to sit there and like really think, like, are they really sitting there going like, well, yeah, our system isn't great, but it gets by, like, it's fine. Until something like this happens, and that's the thing that like makes change happen, and that's frustrating.
Yes.
To me, that's super frustrating. I do think that we will. I think that this is probably the impetus that makes some changes in how we've been doing Hall H. I mean, I don't see how it doesn't.
No, there's going to be changes coming. They're going to make some changes because they can see that. I mean, they see, based on John Rogers' comments, they know that they need to make a change, because if they haven't had counterfeits up until this point, and they do now, you can bet that there's going to be more stuff coming next year if the system stays the same. People figure out ways to game the system. So you have to change the system. And so I would expect something to change.
Well, and I mean, it really makes no sense that like we're not using RFID more than we are. Like, they've paid bukus of money for this. Like, we could be using this for so many other things. Like I said, like, you could literally just replace the wristbands with like RFID, so that like you get scanned your badge when you walk into Hall H. Only if you got scanned earlier, like, does it turn green?
Use your existing badge.
Yeah. You could do things like that, like for the signings. You could do things like that, like for Lego. Like, we had some complaints earlier about like they weren't scanning badges for Lego, so people were like going through once when they didn't get it, they had somebody back like 50 people in line, so they just run over there and then join their friend and do it again. Like, RFID could solve so many of their problems, and it's just weird that they don't utilize it more. So
Yep. So
there's an interesting question in the chat. It seems like maybe, so Jennifer is asking, anyone know what happened on Friday where Game of Thrones cleared out and they left Hall H empty with people waiting in line? Like, I kind of felt like that happened to me when I tried for Hall H, because we didn't move after a panel let out.
I think what happens in that case is the panel is starting and they don't want to move people in while it's going, and they just didn't that 15 minutes apparently wasn't enough time for them to move people in for some reason.
It's too bad.
I don't know. I mean, it could be just that they just didn't have the time to move people in and didn't want to move a lot of people in while the panel was going on. That could be the basic, or it could be drop ball, complete drop ball and not getting people in even though there was room.
Possibly lack of communication.
Right. So let's discuss one of the solutions that people have been talking about, and it's kind of the half of everyone hates it and half of everyone is like going to put up with it, and that's a lottery. There's been many suggestions for there to be a Hall H lottery where you enter before the con even starts to try and get a day to go into Hall H to start, which is how our RFID could be used. If you win, it's attached to your badge. You scan to get into the tents. Simple as that. If it scans green, you're in. If it scans red, you're not. But how does that work? I mean, what if you're a family of 3? If you win the lottery, do you get in 3 people? Do you get in 2 and you have to figure out how to get the other person in so you can stay together? Do you get 4? What is the solution for this? So,
I mean,
using a lottery.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay, so the other thing about that is CCI wants to cut down the line waiting and the camping. They actually want people to enjoy their convention. They don't want them out in line. They want them seeing stuff. So if you do a lottery, in theory, you're telling people you're getting in. But where they're going to run into the problem is for people like me, who is a photographer, and you, who just wants it. There are people who want near the front to see things with their own eyes and to be able to take photos without having to buy a $30,000 lens to get the zoom. So basically, you're going to have people that will always line up early to get the front row, or at least as close as they can get.
Yep.
And that's where they're never going to find a solution to get rid of those people.
No.
The only way that we basically, ever since this really started growing like this, we've been mulling around and talking about it amongst ourselves for years, but we're especially this weekend, about what to do. And really the only way you can do it, there's only 2 solutions. One of them is number those stupid chairs in Hall H, at least for the first 2 or 3 sections. And when you have a lottery, you get a chair number. And now you know where you're sitting and you don't have to line up early. And anyone sitting in the back half of the room is the kind of person who doesn't care to be in the front anyway, or they know they're not going to be, so they don't need to line up early anyway to be in the 3rd or 4th section of the hall. So you can't show up until 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning anyway. The other option is, if you're going to give away wristbands in sections, make the front of the room sections smaller.
Yep.
So hand out 100 wristbands at a time per color for the first 1,000 wristbands or so. Then people know if they're in the first 100, the second 100, and they don't have to line up super early because they know there's only 100 people in their group. And then after the first 1,000 or 2,000 people, you know you're far enough back again, and you don't need to worry about lining up early because you know you're not going to be in the front of the room. What this does is those people that are front of room will try as hard as possible to win a lottery. That's not them camping out for 2 days. That is not them sleeping on the ground. That is not them standing in a line. That is them waiting for a result on a lottery that happens before the convention. So honestly, the lottery is going to be the fairest way and the way to get people away from camping. The problem with that is, how do you handle the numbers? How do you handle people who have a family of 6 and you can only get 4 people in on one winning lottery number?
But I mean, like, that's true of like almost anything else at the convention. So like, if you want to go see something at the Horton Grand, like if you're a family of 4, like even then, like 2 of you have to win in order to attend. It's not like one person can go and draw for all 4. If you want to do an autograph signing, all of you have to win. Like, yeah, maybe it's not fair, but I mean, there's plenty of precedent for whole families like not being able to get in.
Right. Yeah. So the panels, the thing is, and it would be, again, just what the wristbands do, get you in for the first of the day. And then after that, yeah, you got to line up. But this way, if everyone's going to be getting in for the first panel, which is what they want, you know, hey, no one's allowed to line up before 6 a.m. No overnight camping allowed whatsoever.
I feel, I know people say this every year, but I'm like, I feel like that's such a terrible idea because when you set a time, all that you're really doing is like causing a stampede at like 6 a.m.
But if you have the lottery or wristbands already set, that limited number. So like you give away front row wristbands, and then you give away rows 2 through 5, and then the remaining front section. You're going to have less need for people to wait that long in a line to try and be first because people with wristband A already know they're in the front row. They're going to show up at 6 o'clock in the morning, just like knowing they're going to strut in, knowing that they're in the front row. People in rows 2 through 5, I mean, honestly, is row 2 better than row 5? Not really. I mean, I've sat in a few of those, and the view is basically the same. So, you know, I really don't think, I think where you're going to run into the problem is, just like what happened when the wristbands were instituted, people were lining up on Friday to get into Saturday. Now, because of the wristbands, people line up on Thursday to get the wristbands on Friday. They just moved the lining up a day early. That's all they really did. So if you don't take the reason for lining up away, you're still going to have lining up in some way. And you need to take that reason away. That's the only thing you can do is you have to take that reason away. If you want to get rid of camping and lining up, you have to get rid of the reason why people line up, which is to be at the front of the room. And you have to have a fair, non-monetary way to give that to people. That's really that's really the only solution you have.
You know, and I hope, you know, Comic-Con maybe does some focus groups or something like that. Or I know you can email them, so I hope people email them their ideas. And you have
contact page.
Involved with that. What's that?
They do have a contact page on their website, and it sends them an email.
So hopefully they listen to what people send in, and changes are made for the better for next year. That's all we can hope for. Like with the tents being added, so now we had shade. Brilliant.
Right. Yeah, that's been like almost 10 years since the tents came in. I think they came in 2010, I think it was.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I know we eventually want to get to maybe the more positive aspects of the
campaign. Yes. Let's cut that.
Is it time?
I think it's time. So I don't know where Carrie went. I don't see her, but let's go into
her puppy's causing problems.
Maybe the puppy is causing problems. Poor puppies. So let's go into the most positive thing that that really was at the convention this year, and that was the programming. The programming was awesome. I was in panels for 3 days, and after last year, which I think I was in panels for 2 hours. So it was a big change, and I had a great time. So personally, yeah, programming was awesome. Loved it.
I completely agreed. The programming, I think, was like the best it's been in years. Like, I mean, look, on the movie side, it was a little bit light, but you hardly even noticed because the thing that I loved this year was just there was so much new stuff. Like there was Netflix, there was things like DuckTales, Legion came this year, like just all across the board, like so much new stuff. It's so much more exciting when there's things that haven't been before, you know, instead of just like, well, there's Supernatural and Sunday in Hall H again. Cool. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong. I hear that we all missed like the coolest thing ever with Kansas going to play.
Yeah, did you see what happened in Hall H?
I know. but like, I mean, without knowing that ahead of time, like what gets you more excited? Like, hey, DuckTales is coming with David Tennant for the first time, or Supernatural's in Hall H again. Yes. Yeah, well, we know what Beth is more excited about. That's right. So they knocked it out of the park this year. And please come back, Netflix. Please.
Seriously. And so in addition to the programming, like 2 months ago, when we started getting word of, hey, this isn't coming anymore, Nerd HQ's canceled, and then no word on Comic-Con HQ, they didn't show up, and then EW's ConX is canceled, we're like, where's everybody going? But Offsites killed it this year.
There was more than ever. Like
Yeah.
you hardly missed any of them except Nerd HQ, which I did miss. But otherwise,
It's okay. You just watch Sci-Fi Live. Anyone who misses the convention, Sci-Fi Live from Comic-Con brings you all back.
that's right. And they
Yep.
still did dance parties. They still did dance parties. So it was like we got like Nerd HQ Light. So yeah.
Yeah, and they still did the sci-fi tapings. Let's talk about that. Sci-fi killed it at the con. They had panels,
Yes.
they
Oh
had
my God.
offsites, they had freebies, they had bags. Basically, they were everywhere, and everything they were doing was awesome.
And not only answer trivia to get the bag that's behind me, and I always appreciate when I have to answer trivia because I'll also usually get it right. But they make you work a little hard. I like that.
I have said for years and years and years that like USA and Sci-Fi, which are both NBC Universal, that they get Comic-Con more than anybody else does. Like not only did they do like a million things, but like they did cool stuff that actually like ties into the convention. Like how cool is it that they had those cosplay weddings? How cool is it that they did the like karaoke buses? How they had, quite frankly, what was James and I favorite panel of the entire week with that Sci-Fi's The Great Debate. Like that was amazing and fun. They just killed it completely.
Yeah. So, and then the offsites, we had Blade Runner, which I think a lot of people who actually managed to get into it consider it to be one of the best offsites ever.
Yes.
Netflix's offsite, great. Didn't get to go, but whatever.
Westworld.
And then the one, let's talk. Okay, let's talk about that. So, Harry,
What people want to hear about, really.
yes, we've had tons of questions about it in the chat. So
I know. It like the most limited offsite, no demand. It was like a capacity of like 12 people an hour.
Right.
Not kidding.
So, Westworld, according to Carrie, and I'll believe her, was the best offsite ever.
It was.
They were letting in 12 people an hour.
Yeah.
They were
6
letting in
people
100
6 people every half hour, yeah.
Right. 12. So that'd be 100 people a day. And that means over 4 days at a convention with 130,000 attendees, 400 people got to experience the Westworld offsite.
Which is insane.
Those people wear those hats with a badge of honor.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and this is what I argued the other day. If any series like has the right to be like, we are the most exclusive, like hard to get into offsite, I feel like it's Westworld. Because I mean that's basically like what the show is. Like only the elite like get to go to Westworld. It ties in.
No, and we can just hope and fingers crossed, knock on wood, that they'll bring that back for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or something similar, right? Something just change it up a little bit. Maybe if there's a new world in Westworld this coming season, maybe they'll add a different world.
Yeah, and somebody else on our staff went and got an email after they attended, and it sounded like the offsite is going to continue in some form. So I don't know if that means like it's going to be going on a tour, kind of like the Game of Thrones one has in the past. I don't know if that just means like we'll be back next year. I don't know. But if you get the chance to go, it was like the single greatest offsite I've ever been to. Just saying.
Whatever.
Whatever. I know.
So let's talk about, okay, that's enough positivity. Let's go back. Let's talk about the offsites.
James, if you're like advocating for less positivity, we're all in trouble.
We need to cover everything, but we're going to go back to the same thing we were talking about earlier, but just in a different location, and that's lines. And let's talk about offsite lines, which were horrible again this year. And it's not that they were poorly managed in like 99% of the cases. It's the fact that they were so long.
Oh my God. Like I'm still, my mind is just boggling about the fact that people waited 11 hours for Game of Thrones. And not like, hey, I camped out starting at 9 p.m., but more like I showed up at like 5 a.m. and then waited 11 hours. Like normally that line is 2 hours, 2.5, 11 hours.
Yeah.
Why did you not get out of line is my question.
Because once you're in, you're
It's
like,
another line.
I got to carry through.
No.
I mean,
No.
I got to. No. So
I waited 90 minutes once for Game of Thrones, and then I was like, I got better things to do.
So as far as I can tell, most of the offsite lines of the most popular ones, like Netflix and Blade Runner, they averaged anywhere from half an hour if you were really lucky for the non-VR line, up to 5 hours max.
Yeah,
I think was roughly what they went to.
but
And
still,
Netflix is moving really
I
quick.
understand that that's a long time, but when you compare it to the Game of Thrones line, which was essentially 9 to 11 hours
your whole day,
all weekend, and that is not line management. That is not the number of people waiting. That is their stupidity, in my opinion, having one of the 5 activations inside was a 360 camera that held one person usually. I think it only held one person at a time. I didn't do it. I saw it. I saw the line for it, and I'm like, no. It was stupid to have that in the middle of that activation taking up that much time. And they should have had multiple stations, or just, you know what? Don't do it next time. Do things people can do in like a minute or 2 or less and still be cool. Or have multiple stations.
At least with like Westworld, which again was like the lowest capacity possible, at least like they took reservations. So it wasn't like you were wasting your entire day in line.
Right. But Westworld was built that way.
Yes.
Game of Thrones was built to move people through with 5 stations.
Failed badly.
You're supposed to be getting through and doing each thing and then moving on.
And
you shouldn't have been in there.
Game of Thrones, you could enter and then wander to which line you liked. But this year it was you're in that line the whole way through, except where I jumped one because I didn't want to wait for it. So, and so that layout needed to be rethought, and the length of those activations inside, while great, weren't for Comic-Con.
Well, and that's truthfully, that's how I felt about the Legion offsite too, because I got to do that, and it was cool. Don't get me wrong, but it was like one person at a time.
Yeah, they had like 3 stations, I think, 3 or 4 rooms.
Maybe. Yeah, but it was like T9C, and I know that they did actually take reservations, but they took like so few because the capacity was so small. And not only that, but they did allow a standby line, and people were just like in that line like all day.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I'm secretly like an old curmudgeon. Like, I don't like VR. I don't feel like it's like I would never wait 5 hours for VR personally. No VR experience is like worth that amount of time to me. So I know that it's cool and it's hip and all of that, but like, let's stop doing VR. If we can't funnel people through, like,
or bring 15 stations at a time.
Yes.
Bus. Like the IT bus was about, I think, 8 people.
Yeah,
session. So that line was really short when I went by on, I think it was Saturday.
Yeah,
and we did that really quickly.
Or if you're gonna do reservations, don't do what Blade Runner did. So we were all excited because they kept saying we're gonna have 2 lines. Like, one is gonna be a reservation line where you can make a reservation and come back later, and one is gonna be if you want to like actually wait in the line. The way that it wound up working was literally you got in line after you've waited like 1 to 5 hours. You get to the front, and then at that point they're like, would you like to make a reservation to come back now that you've waited 5 hours in this line? Like, who is going to say, like, yes, I will come back later to stand in line again? No. That's, like, who had that idea?
Just, terrible.
No. Such a terrible idea. So, and that one is poor line management.
Yes.
So, yes.
Okay. What other positive stuff do we have to talk about?
The robots.
Mr. Robot was great.
There was a line, but I think, one, and then they had the booth in front of the Hard Rock, which was really short to get your card.
Yes, I was so excited when that popped up because I was like, I just want the card. I just want the card. So I popped over. I was in and out with my card in like 5 minutes. You could register online, and then
people were just showing their phones at some of the things to use.
Yeah, so you could go and get your free stuff. There was like never a line to go and get your free sandwich and milkshake over at the Red Wheelbarrow. You could just go wander over there. Like that was really cool. You could go get a free shirt. You could go get a ton of free stuff. And then they also had like the interactive part where you could go and like figure out the codes and all of that to make it into the secret room. So all of that was really cool. Again, Sci-Fi and USA, like they get it. So
make it as easy as possible for people, really.
that's right.
Enjoy all the stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going to look through the Twitter questions, and I wanted to answer one of them. Okay, so all of the line issues that we're having, and I know we saw throughout the weekend people saying that when they saw someone cut in line, they basically started yelling at security to get them out, or they shamed them, or whatever it may be. But what I would suggest that attendees do at this point is, if you see something happening, get a picture or get a video, because if a security member is not doing their job, CCI needs to know about it. They need to know who's doing it. They need to know what company they're from, because remember, CCI hires multiple security companies to come down and work the con. So they need to know what's going on. They don't, I mean, if you go up to Comic-Con and say, security guy back there, let a bunch of people in line. I mean, unless the person is still standing there and you can walk them over and point at them, it's not going to do any good.
Yep.
So video or pictures of people, now don't get crazy about it, just be filming the whole time and all that. But if you see a real problem, do something about it. Record them and then go get someone security. The other thing is that a vast majority of security is the lowest on the totem pole security. That's most of the people you're going to see. You need to find an actual staff security or a higher level security if you want something actually handled, more than just, oh, well, I guess they're going to do that.
And I do want to say, like, yes, it sucks when security is like, oh, well. But at the same time, like, they're not, I mean, come on, guys. Like, don't be too mean or too hard on the security guards sometimes. Like, they're just there to try to do a job. Like, a lot of times I don't feel like they have as much training as they should. Like, they are probably just as frustrated as you are. So like James said, like, go find someone higher up. You can also always, even now that the convention is over, you can always go use the contact form on CCI's site and let them know like what issues you had, anything like that. So.
Absolutely. So while we're discussing some of the bad things, let's talk about Conan, which was again awesome. But
they delivered
had some issues.
They delivered pops.
Yeah. I'm really jealous that you got one of those. Like, how cool is that they like hand delivered that?
It was amazing.
That's crazy.
Via Twitter, power of technology.
I know, the power of technology, so cool. The one bad thing about Conan this year, though, was that in the past, it's always been that if you get basically a confirmed e-ticket, that so long as you don't show up like 10 minutes before they close the box office, you were basically guaranteed a physical ticket to go attend the show. And that was still true on Wednesday. But then on Thursday, something, I don't know what, but something went wrong. And maybe it was that like they had 2 lines or 2 different shows that they were doing on Thursday, and maybe like they got confused and they handed out multiple tickets. I don't know. I don't know what the problem was. But either way, they ran out of tickets at like somewhere between like 11 and 1 p.m., which has never happened before for Conan.
Right.
For the Comic-Con shows. So a lot of people who had confirmed e-tickets like didn't get to attend. And they tried to make that right. I believe what they did was for the people who showed up who had confirmed e-tickets for Thursday who couldn't get in on Thursday, they told them to come back on Friday and they would give them priority. But again, that then screwed up Friday. So then you had people on Friday who, since they gave priority to the Thursday people, couldn't get tickets on Friday, and then at that point there were no more tapings to offer them priority for. So it was just kind of, it was disappointing. And I'm really curious to see if that continues next year, if it was really just a problem with like having 2 tapings on the same day and maybe like something happened behind the scenes. I don't know what happened, but it was new and disappointing. Yep.
Caused a lot of problems. Yeah, because, you know, early in the day, everyone's like, this line is really long. And you're like, oh, it's 2 shows. It just looks longer because there's 2 shows. But no, it actually was too long.
Yes, it was. So, yeah. Womp womp.
Okay.
Did we ever get a reason why they didn't do a Saturday show and had 2 on Thursday?
It is my vague understanding that it was just a scheduling thing. What I personally think happened is I feel like they probably wanted Justice League, and I feel like they were probably trying to work around their schedule.
Yes.
And when they couldn't, I think they said, we still want to work with you, Warner Brothers. What else can you give us? And Warner Brothers said, well, we've got Lego Ninjago. And but they're only in town on Thursday. So that is my
yeah, and that makes
speculation.
Sense.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's go on a couple of things here that I wanted to make sure we covered, and that is someone in the chat, Mark W, said lots of bomb sniffing dogs this year. I think they've been around a little bit before, but there was definitely more because I saw them every day. And let's give a shout out to the security from the police and others for making their presence known and keeping us safe all weekend, because we definitely felt safer and more secure with all of that going on. I mean, I know I saw cops everywhere I went, and I did, like I said, I mentioned all the dogs a few times. And remember, don't pet them; they're on the job. So, but anyway, that was really cool. I thought that was cool.
The driveway barrier on the bus thing was kind of, I don't think I recall seeing that either.
That looked a little more sturdy this year. People just couldn't drive up to drop people off randomly on accident. So, what was the other one? I think that's actually almost, let me see any other questions here. Oh, what was up with the hour-long wait between the WB panel and the Women Who Kick Ass panel in Hall H on Saturday? Basically, WB ended early, and there was already a half-hour wait built in the schedule if you took a look at it. And so we don't know why WB ended early. Maybe they had planned more and asked for that 2 hours, but then they ended up without enough content to fill that 2 hours because something didn't pan out. And then you ended up with that hour-long wait. So half an hour of that was planned. The other half hour was unplanned. So we don't know exactly why. Someone asked, Jay, not my problem, asked on Twitter when I mentioned the non-monetary way to handle the lottery is, why does Comic-Con Hall H have to be non-monetary? Charge for all-day Hall H and split the proceeds between charities. I mean, charity is an option, but really the reason why is because once you insert money into an extra thing at Comic-Con, it no longer is equal among all attendees because not all attendees have the same amount of money. And now it's pay to play. And Comic-Con will never do pay to play.
Agreed. 100%. That is absolutely, like, Comic-Con International is all about like leveling the playing field, not, they'll never do that. Just plain and simple. They will never do that.
Which is why you never will see a VIP ticket on sale for Comic-Con. That is not a thing. If you ever see one, it's from someone giving a VIP experience for their own brand. Like I think, was it like IDW and Winona Earp did that?
Yeah, and I don't think they were supposed to do that either.
Right, and that is not a Comic-Con ticket. And someone's mentioning the other conventions like Disney and Star Wars Celebration. They do Jedi or Sorcerer packages, and that is pay to play. They pay a lot of money for those tickets, and they get all the perks.
Yep.
There are no perks at Comic-Con. You wait in line, you do the stuff, you go home. That's it.
Yep. One other quick positive thing that I wanted to mention, and we're actually going to do like we did this last year too, but a 5 winners and 5 losers of Comic-Con. one other thing that I wanted to mention was I felt like you could really tell the upgrades in the convention center. Like it was cooler in general outside this year than it was last year, but not by that much. But the difference in like how warm it was in that convention center was like night and day. Like
Right.
last year on Thursday, I absolutely remember being like, I'm going to die sitting in this panel room. And this year I was like, I'm so cold. I'm literally going to take a bathroom pass, go down to the exhibit floor, and spend $60 on a hoodie that I'm only going to wear today. I'm so cold. So that was amazing. Really glad that we had that. I didn't use it, but I've heard that the Wi-Fi in the lobbies like actually worked, which is phenomenal. It's like I said, it just really felt like you could tell the upgrades, and the upgrades have been badly
Hall
needed.
H chairs.
Yes.
Oh, yes. The Hall H chairs.
Yeah. So thank you, San Diego Convention Center.
Yay.
Yep. I saw something. Night Bodega asked, Carrie, did you wait for the Wrecked event on Sunday? I actually enjoyed it. I did wait for the Wrecked event on Sunday. And it was pretty cool. We got a Funko Pop. That was cool. The setup was really nice. Yeah.
You know, and it was really nice that it was one of those things that moved into town early, because I got to do it a week, or the Saturday before Comic-Con. So it was there for us locals to try out, and it was one thing I didn't have to worry about. One offsite I could check off early, like Leica, we didn't really get to talk about because I did it a week ago, but it was so nice when that happens. And I hope that happens more in the future, where companies move into town early.
Yes, no, and especially even if you're like only open on Wednesday, like things should be open on Wednesday. Okay. There are attendees there on Wednesday. We want stuff to do.
And we can, get the bugs out too early. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's not so crowded. So someone had mentioned at certain points also, this is a debate I know that's been raging as well for the offsites, is badge or no badge. And I kind of, right now, I think it's actually kind of fine right now, because some are badge and some are not badge, so it gives you an option.
Yeah.
I don't think that they should go to all badge required, because there are obviously people who buy for 1 or 2 days, whatever is available, and they're in town, and they would have
nothing to do.
So I think there should be a certain, there should be things that are available for non-badged attendees for that day, but also I am okay if a lot of them choose to make it badges required. It's just, you're in there for Comic-Con, but requiring the badge kind of defeats the purpose of going to Comic-Con, because then you're spending all of your time outside.
Well, and look, like maybe I'm in the minority, but for some things, like I don't mind really if like the locals want to come down and check it out. Like for some people, like maybe that's how you discover like, hey, this actually looks cool. Like I want to get a badge next year.
Right.
Like I said, I feel like I'm probably in the minority in that viewpoint, but I just don't really mind. And I don't feel like it's like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people anyway, like coming down without a badge to like fill those spaces up. Like I guarantee you it's not a local who was lining up on Tuesday for the Funko pop-up shop, okay?
No, it seemed like that Saturday afternoon, it was a lot of touristers who walk very slow, a lot slower than Comic-Con attendees. You can tell. And so you can tell they weren't the badge holders, but
yeah,
just like the weekenders that roll in to like look at everything. Which is
the locals who take a trolley down to watch all of the crazies who come in to invade their town for the week.
Yes.
That's basically what clogs up everything.
Pretty much.
Excuse me.
I just wanted to do kind of like a quick rundown. We talked about some offsites, but just like a little rundown of a few other things, like AMC's Dead Quarters. I was able to walk right into, or it was like a 5-minute wait in line because they had an open activation that you could just walk around. So that seems to work really well at the con. And then you can get in line for things if you want to, or you can just sit down. And they had little Instagram pictures. If you tweeted with that, or you posted your photo with a hashtag, it would print right there. And that was a really neat, like with the little, Walking Dead logo on it. And that's kind of just a neat little thing that's easy to do. That was a lot of fun.
Well, that's really kind of how the non-Legion parts of exhibition worked as well.
Yeah, and Fox was also great down there. It was like maybe a half-hour wait for Orville, or I did the Gifted to get my DNA swabbed. We'll see what happens there. But those are totally worth it, and those were really quick, and that was Friday. And just kind of quick and fun, and you get to hang out for a while and get a sunburn. It's fine.
That's right. If you leave Comic-Con without a sunburn, you probably
done it wrong.
Yes.
Or sick.
Also true.
Oh, I've escaped con crud this year. Knock on wood. And just also all the parties that did the RSVPs in advance for, everyone that was on the ball and could get tickets, they were so much fun. Fandom was great early on, and the Stargate party was amazing. I went in there super late, but I was still able to get pictures of the costumes and all this props they had from the show and decorations. Was a lot of fun just to see a room as Stargate as a fan.
Yep, I had like 2 people stop me to thank me for alerting them about that Lord of the Rings video game party thing. Yeah. And they said like that was amazing. Yeah, they said like that was amazing.
The Doctor Who cosplay show, which was right across the street from National Geographic Nerd Night, so it was super easy to go back and forth. I'm losing my voice apparently now. So apologies. But was it Movie Pilot did a great job with the Doctor Who show. And it was just neat to have these little venues of your shows just around. And National Geographic Nerd Night is like the best thing with their, astronauts coming to speak with us and great swag. I just could gush forever.
Basically, there's just a lot of awesome stuff. And I know it feels like we just spent an hour ragging on things, but truly, I had one of the best times I've had at Comic-Con in a very long time, and I feel like the good far outweighed the bad. It's just frustrating that the bad is problems that they've had for so long and they just have never shown much inclination to fix, which I think is why we're so angry about the bad parts. But again, overall, it was a fantastic year. Congratulations to Comic-Con for putting on a great event outside of the line management. So
I think we should demerit the SDCC unofficial blog for one thing, and that's I think we incorrectly called the line on Saturday for Ballroom 20. We thought it would be mostly walk-in for the WB stuff because it has been in the past years, but apparently that line was horrendous on Saturday afternoon, and so we apologize for thinking that it would not be. But Star Trek combined with WBDC apparently makes for an awful afternoon trying to get into Ballroom 20.
That's funny. I would also like to demerit the programming premiums room for continuing to still have the worst name at Comic-Con. No one knows what it is. Please go back to the fulfillment room, please.
So that's what we call it. That's what we'll always call it.
Yeah, I know.
Go get your free stuff.
I think it was you actually, James, who tweeted about go to the fulfillment room, and then people started tweeting us no, it's the programming premiums room, and I was on Twitter mute.
Nope.
Mute.
Nope. I call it. I also call it the
not talking to you.
One of our tweets, because that's what I call it.
Yes, we will never call it the programming premiums room.
This is for Lisa.
F. Fail.
F to the programming premiums room name. F.
But all the great stuff you get in there is also wonderful. So
yes.
In the fulfillment room.
So what else do we have that we need to go over? Is there any other kudos we want to hand out? Let's hand out some kudos.
All of our Adventures of Prize Mule.
Oh, yeah.
That was so much fun. I really hope you guys had fun because I think we had so much fun. There's no way we're not doing it next year.
And Prize Moose, in my case.
Yes, and Prize Moose and Gary, of course. And I hope you all met Gary and got the greatest prize of all. Yeah, that was fun, and we loved getting to meet you guys. So let's give a kudos to our readers.
Yes.
Because
Kudos
you
to our
are-
readers.
Yes.
Why are you watching us? We love you.
There's also apparently a whole lot more of you that watch this than I previously thought, because, yeah, I met way more
scary.
people who said that they watched the podcast than I thought.
Yeah, so when we're doing this, I'm talking to Carrie and Kim, and
Yeah.
like there's chats who go up on things. It's like it's letters on a screen, but actually meeting all of you and seeing that there's people who actually watch this and listen to this, it's a little daunting. And thank you for being so nice and saying thank you to us. And this is literally the thing that we do because we love Comic-Con and because it's something that we want to do and something that we feel is great to do. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be sitting in front of a camera talking to people if I didn't actually enjoy
Oh my
this
God!
part of
Like
it.
we could all have lives.
Right.
If we didn't love doing this, and if we didn't like actually love like getting to help you guys have a better experience, and I mean it's true. Like it really was just invigorating. Like how many of you like took the time to come up to us and just like have an actual conversation for a little bit. Like so, if you were one of those people, or even if you weren't, like thank you guys. We love you guys.
Yeah.
So.
Kudos to the listeners and fans, and thank you all of you who helped us help others
Yes.
by
Yes.
answering our questions when we weren't in a location to be able to see it ourselves. Just having the option to be able to tell other people what things were going on. I think everyone helping each other really makes everyone's con that much better.
Yes.
So, all right, what are more demerits now? That's enough of that. And
Yeah, enough of this positivity.
We can't go too long on the positivity. We can't.
All right. What do we want to give an F to? I want to give an F to lines starting on Tuesday. That's what I want to give an F to. I do not approve. I will never approve. And I will also never post about lines starting on Tuesday, because I know that if we post like, hey, there's 100 people in line over here on Tuesday, it will suddenly be 500 in line on Tuesday. And then next year, it'll be 500 in line on Monday. So if you were one of those people who lined up on Tuesday, where's your F, Kim? Give us an F.
There it is, right there.
F. You get an F.
F.
Cavi Warrior mentions this. They ran out of the WV bags.
Yeah.
They did.
F to them for running out, but also
did.
really F to the people who went and grabbed multiples because they wanted all the pins. That's really why they ran out.
Because they weren't checking, right? You just could go around again.
Yeah.
If they were checking, they weren't checking all the time.
No.
I wasn't. Yeah, you could go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I never even got one. So
I didn't either. I didn't care.
I got Westworld. Where did that get me?
I kind of would have wanted like a Superman pin or something like that, but you know what? It's just been something in a box somewhere.
Yeah, and if you wanted it that badly, that's what eBay's for, right?
Oh, the press bags are different? No, they're the same bags. They give us the same bags. We walk up.
Yeah.
We went through sales. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, people.
We're not special.
Press, we don't get stuff.
No.
I mean, remember, I said this before the con, and our perks are we get a free badge if we get approved, which is awesome that we don't have to pay for it. And we can get the option, if we get approved again with the individual companies, to go into their press room.
But you have to like organize all of that on your own. Like it's not like you automatically like get to go to a press room. Like you basically have to apply to all of that. Like we get no perks, kids.
And the only perk is in Ballroom 20 and Hall H, there is press areas for photography. So if you don't get in early enough, you can actually go up. Now the problem with those is they're crappy areas. I mean, it's at the front, but hey, guess what? It's all the way over to the right or all the way over to the left. So you get the side of everyone's face mainly, which is why you see a lot of photographs from a lot of the press people of, you know, like, hey, look, it's a really cool shot of all the microphones lined up. Just nice and neat. There's one face. There's one face sticking out from the guy when he looked over a different direction. You know, so
that's funny.
It's not that great. So basically, I was sitting off to the left on the floor, basically, and standing like the entire time. I wasn't even in a chair. I didn't even get a chair on Saturday. So, oh well.
That's okay.
That's okay.
All right.
But I got some okay photos.
Okay. But again, we want to give really big kudos to the programming. I want to give a big kudos to the Convention Center for their upgrades. To Sci-Fi is particularly the great debate panel, which was hysterical. Oh my God.
I hope so. These will be on CCHQ, right? For anyone that wants to join up to watch them.
I have no idea.
We don't know yet. They haven't announced which panels.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. No idea. No idea. But that one I sincerely hope is. And like I suppose I could just go Google this. Like, is that going to be a TV show on Sci-Fi? Is that a show on Sci-Fi? Because I would watch that show.
Did we want to give a demerit to the Vikings thing? Not necessarily to Vikings themselves, but the answer given at Talkback about it?
Yeah. So apparently at Talkback, John Rogers said, like, we had no idea that the Vikings thing was going to be happening until it happened. Hey,
hold on. I can screen share this.
Yeah, I'm doing it too.
Here we go.
Okay.
I'm going to screen share the application that has this on it right here. There we go.
Yeah. Hey, Comic-Con?
Present to everyone. There we go.
There we go.
Offsite events at Comic-Con.
Yeah. Hey, Comic-Con, you guys are kind of how we knew this event was even happening.
Right down here, number 6, Viking Funeral. Look at that, right there.
Yeah, you guys had no idea that was happening. You guys are the ones who announced it. So you get an F.
You get an F, Comic-Con. You knew about it. You just didn't plan for it. Sorry, we had to call you out, but you guys need to pay attention to things sometimes.
Crazy, right? Crazy.
Yeah, and by the way,
neat.
It was according to people on Twitter who were at Talkback, Rogers explained that they didn't know about the Vikings until it happened. Port of San Diego gave the okay, but didn't tell CCI.
But again, CCI is the one who announced it. Okay, cool. We were going to do some awards tonight, but we failed. We're all still kind of like trying to catch up on real life now that we're back. But what we will be doing instead is probably tomorrow, Friday at the latest, is I will be posting a poll where you can vote on various things like what was your favorite panel of the week, what was your favorite offsite of the week, what was your favorite exclusive, your favorite booth, freebie, all kinds of things. And then we will post all of the winners, and that'll be fun.
There you go. And we're calling them what? What are we calling them? We're calling them the Shruggie Awards. Because Shruggie rules Comic-Con.
He does rule Comic-Con. He is our sometimes not so benevolent overlord. Yeah.
So, I mean, is there really anything else we have to go over? I mean, I think in general, it was an awesome con.
I think so too.
So crazy, so busy, but what's Comic-Con without that?
Right.
Yeah, I know. Well, here
I missed so much. I went to one offsite. I went to so many panels. I missed all the offsites. 2 offsites. I went to one Conan and the Legion, and that's it.
Okay, so I actually did want to ask this real quick before we leave. I want you each to tell me like your number 1 regret for thing that you did not get to do.
Oh. Okay. Actually, this one's easy. Blade Runner. I wanted to do Blade Runner, and I didn't have time.
That one sounded cool, yeah.
I mean, I guess Westworld, but I feel like it's a chance that I still might be able to do that someday. I can't think, and the rest is like a list of things, but I can't really pick one of either panels or offsites. No, I can't. No, because I felt like I had a good convention because of that, because I did everything that or not everything I wanted to do, but I filled my time.
That's good. That's good.
So
that's good.
Fantastic.
I did not get to do the X-Men The Gifted thing after I was so excited about it. The line was like crazy long on Sunday, and I was like, I'm not standing here for an hour. I gotta go to Disneyland.
We got our cheeks swabbed.
Yeah. So sad.
So question. Someone had a comment in the chat, which is Night Bodega says, "I can't love Comic-Con without the hate that comes with it." That is so true.
We feel
And
I don't
Ethan
know
asked,
that.
"Are you guys in any way affiliated with San Diego Comic-Con?"
Nope.
No, that's why we are the unofficial
official
blog.
blog. And that's
We are
also
not
why we can
affiliated with
say
anybody.
these things. Yes. Do we have anything else?
Oh no, the Expanse thing was cool. I didn't shout out that earlier.
Oh, and Beth says that the one that she has is the Timeless panel because it was running right before Legion, which we did not want to miss out on. So
Yeah.
couldn't make it to Timeless.
Sad. All right.
Very sad.
Well, again, we absolutely love you guys. Real quick, I want to give an extra special thank you to everyone who came to our reader meetup, Too Blog, Too Furious on Wednesday at McFadden's. We got to meet so many of you, and it was like we actually had a chance to talk, which is not at all how our parties have worked in the past. So that was a whole lot of fun for us, and hopefully for you as well. I also want to give a huge thank you to everybody who donated prizes for our Adventures of Prize Mule, Hasbro, Factory Entertainment, NinjaBot, Viz Media, UCC Distributing, BBC America, Diamonds Like Toys, Cryptozoic, Kid Robot, and we had more, but it was just, we love all of our sponsors, and we hope you guys...
What did you make people do for the Fast Pass again? I heard this later on, and it was fantastic.
You tell it.
Okay, so we figured we needed something special for the Hasbro Fast Pass. So when we decided to give it away, we were up in sales, and we basically said, who the first person to come to us and sing the podcast theme song wins the Hasbro Fast Pass. So the first person to show up doesn't know the song, because who of you would?
To be fair, I did tweet out on like Monday or Tuesday. I was like, pro tip, you might want to know the lyrics to our theme song. No.
No. So what he did is he stood there with his phone up to his ear playing the video he found of the podcast. And his girlfriend actually was standing next to him with her finger plugging up his other ear while he tried to learn the song. And it was hilarious because he got like the first line right, and then he kind of got the second line right. And we're like, no, you need to do like the whole part of the song that's in the podcast. Basically,
No,
like the two verses.
I was like, you need to get like the 2 lines if you want it. And this poor kid, oh my gosh, he kept singing, oh my God, I love live blog. Instead of live journal. We were like,
not quite right, but you got to keep it
word.
going. Listen again, not live blog, but we're not going to tell you what it is, so you go ahead and listen. And it was garbled and it was hard to hear, and he was our entertainment for 10 minutes, 10 solid minutes of entertainment for us.
Yeah, found you.
And other people found us, but they're like, they come up like, it's you. I don't know the song, sorry, and then walk away.
Yeah,
it's like you're not even going to try.
The one dude had commitment.
Yay.
He did.
Yeah,
the one, and so I'm glad he finally got it like 80% right over the course of like 2 tries. So we're like, fine.
Yes.
You can get it.
Yeah.
Because it's been 10 minutes. So here you
we
go.
have to go anyway. Yeah. So that was fun. So we might do more stuff like that next year, mostly because it entertained us. So.
Anyway, so yes, thank you to everyone who donated for Prize Mule. Thank you to everyone who found us for Prize Mule without making us wait around forever. So I hope I think we filled a lot of the area inside, outside, and away from the convention center, all throughout the day and night, I think. So hopefully a lot of you had a chance at least.
Yes.
So I guess that's going to wrap it up unless we can't find anything else. I don't think we can.
I don't think we can either. Yeah. So again, just thank you guys. I hope we see all of you next year. Once again, we will have some more wrap-up stuff this week. So this is not like total goodbye before we sleep the Odin sleep. Tomorrow we'll be posting our 5 winners, stop losers. I still need to do a write-up for Fun Days. We'll have a couple of other little things. And the awards, we'll also be doing those. But probably after next week, we will be officially in off season.
Karen asked, is James coming to CCI next year? You mean, am I going to Comic-Con next year? Absolutely. It's year 25 for me. I'm not going to miss year 25.
Woo!
Yeah. So I'll be there. Don't count. I mean, after that, I mean, who knows? I may skip.
Yes.
We'll
Trope Force asked, can we order prize mule shirts? Unfortunately, no. Those were really just like our free giveaway things for prize mule, but we'll have shirts again next year because we like making shirts apparently. So
and we're not gonna we don't like. I mean, obviously we did this shirt for 3 or 4 years in a row, but we're gonna try and do things different every year so that people can have something exclusive to the year and something fun and limited and
I'm like I already
make sure
know
you feel special.
I'm already like Gary totally needs to be on the prize mule shirt next year. So
right, yeah, so,
right
there you go. All right, that is it for the 2017 season of SDConCast. We'll be back, as mentioned, over the next few months for returning and open registration. We'll do a live show for those. Which
we hear will actually theoretically be in the fall or winter again. John Rogers said that in Talkback. So, see, you will be 2018 before you see our smiling faces again.
Yep. So, are we going to do the newsletter at all? There's no reason.
No, there's no reason. Don't
sign up anyway. You just will never get anything. There you go.
We'll do like 2 again next year. It'll be great.
Thank you all for joining us now and throughout the year. We hope you've been entertained and informed with news, opinions, and special guests as many as we could fit. Kim, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am Outside Comic-Con on Twitter and Facebook and a website. And it's been a lot of fun, you guys. So, Carrie, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Carrie Dixon, and it's back to just being me on the blog Twitter. So sucks for you all. Sucks for everybody tweeting at us now. It's just me. James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am everywhere at Dan Regal, and you can find photography from my wife and I on our website, geekshotphoto.com.
We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up on the blog or search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We are also on Stitcher Radio. The link is in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail. Sorry, it's the end of the season. I'm going to mess it all up now for the first time. sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening. Everybody, go shawarma. Sleep all the sleep.